Dear students, our lecture today is about television commercials, and television commercials are one of the tools used by different organizations to promote their products. Let's start with the program design process. Any program design should undergo 5 different steps. The first is creative meeting, concept development, pre-production, production, and post-production. So these are the main steps for the design of programs. Let's have a look at the production process sequence of television advertisements or television commercials. There are some basic steps that are very important to produce a television commercial. We will start with the big productions. We will talk about the different steps for big productions. But talking about small productions means that we may skip some of these steps, we may combine some of these steps or eliminate some of them. Phase 1, creation or creativity. This phase, we call it the brainstorming phase, where we meet with the client, we get all the information we need so that we can develop a new idea for the commercial. This takes place through what we call a creative meeting. A creative meeting between the client and the creative team. And as you know, the creative team is in charge of developing the idea of the television commercial and designing the television commercial. In this important meeting, which explains product information, the client will talk with the creative team about certain issues. So in this meeting, the client explains to the creative team some of the main points needed to develop the idea of the commercial. What are these points that the client talk about in this meeting? He talks about the point of sales, whether there is a decrease in the sales of the product or not. He has to be honest, and he has to talk about the points of weaknesses and the points of strengths in the product. He has to tell them about all the details about the product in the market share and give them the information needed to get the general look of the television commercial and the experience he wants audience to have. So he can tell the creative team what does the company need this television commercial to be like. During the meeting, we may want to fill out a television commercial needs analysis. What is a television commercial needs analysis? The television commercial needs analysis answers some of these questions, like what is the television commercial style, what is the general feel of the advertisement or of the commercial, and tell us also who's the target audience from the commercial, who's the target audience, their age, their gender, their social and cultural levels. The first step in the production of the television commercial is to identify the purpose of the production. Yani, why are we doing that commercial? Why? For what sake? What do we want to achieve? So, in this step, we should clearly identify the production goals and purposes. We also have to review these goals and pose questions about the most effective ways to present ideas. So knowing these goals, the goals of the production, will help us to find out the most effective ways to present ideas. If the director already exists at this time, and you have to know that the director exists at that early stage only in big productions. If he exists at this time, he should be part of these conferences and meetings with the client and the creative team. It is very important at this phase to know also the goals and purposes of the production, because if there is no clear agreement on the goals and purposes of a commercial, it will not be possible to evaluate the success of the commercial. How will you know if you have arrived at your destination if you didn't know where you are going in the first place? This all tells us the importance of knowing the purpose and the goal of the production. And who will tell us the purpose of the goal and goal of the production? The client. During these sessions with the creative team, we will thrash out many important things, such as audience appeal, pace and problems with special interest groups such as religious groups or opposition political parties or human rights institutions and the environment. So also in this session we will raise up some important questions on what are the appeals that we are going to use in the commercial, if we are targeting special interest groups such as religious groups or human rights institutions, how can we deal with this? And we have always to put in front of us some alternative ideas to exceed these problems. The second step is analyze and identify target audience characteristics. You should know your target audience well, you should study your target audience and know their characteristics. Why do we do that? Because the audience, of course, is crucial to success, and not understanding it is at the base of many failures. So, again, this step is very important. You should know your target audience, you should study your target audience, because if you don't study your target audience, if you don't know their characteristics, then you will fail. You will not succeed in achieving your goal or purpose of the production. This identification, based on such things as age, gender, socio-economic status, educational level, idea, content, preferences, will differ from one group of people to another. When we say you should know the characteristics of your audience, this means that you should know their age, their gender, their socioeconomic status, their educational level, what do they prefer. These preferences are also different even when we are talking about a group of people living in the same country, but still the north differ than the south, the urban differ than the rural. You should also know the demographics of your target audience. Why? To determine the acceptability of idea content. Let me give you an example. People, for example, living in cities and urban areas tend to be more tolerant than people who live in, for example, the upper of the country. So that's why we should study our target audience, know their demographics, know what they need. Education is also one of the important demographics that we should study. The more educated audience, the more understanding and involvement in sensitive issues such as violence and tolerance. Also bear in mind that disregarding audience preferences leads to limiting and reducing the rates seen gradually. Third step is check out similar productions. This is also one of the important steps. We have to check out similar productions from the past to avoid some of the errors or mistakes that have been done. And when we say we have to check out similar productions, this means that we have to check the successful and the unsuccessful productions. We have to ask ourselves some questions. How will our production be different than previous successful and unsuccessful efforts by others? So if we check out previous productions, this will help us to do something different. Ask yourself also, why did they work, or maybe why didn't they work? In other words, why were they successful, or why didn't they succeed in achieving, of course, their goals? With taking into consideration some factors as the time factor, what is suitable today maybe wasn't suitable 2 years ago, locations, and audiences. You are targeting an audience which is different also from the audience that was studied 3 years ago. It is like an architecture plan. Without a solid and well-organized script, the show will be poorly executed. Now we are ready for the concept development. Once we have decided on what will best fit our commercial idea, and after all the meetings with between the creative team and the client, we have all the information, we know the goals, we know our target audience. Now we are ready to develop the idea of the commercial based on the previous data that we have gathered. Put down on paper all the information you gathered, all the details, the clarifications, the description of steps involved from the initial idea to the final script. It's preferable at this stage to design what we call a storyboard. And the storyboard is one type of scripts. It helps us to clarify our idea because we design the shots, we show the decoration elements, the places of guests, the places of musical theme if needed in the production. All of these things are clearly shown and clearly identified in the storyboard. This is the design of the storyboard. How can we write a storyboard or design a storyboard? We have, as you see, two ways to do that. The first way is to design each shot in their order in the television commercial, horizontally or vertically. And under each box where we design the shot, we should explain the sound that will accompany the shot. And this is, as I said, this is very important because it better clarify the idea of the commercial. What is a storyboard? The storyboard consists of drawings of key scenes with corresponding notes on elements such as dialogue, sound effects, and music. So what is a storyboard? The storyboard is one type of scripts which show the drawings of the key scenes in your commercial with corresponding notes as what is the dialogue that will accompany this shot, what are the sound effects, and what are the music. So it includes not only the drawings of the key scenes, but also all what is related to the sound, such as the dialogue, the sound effects, and the music. After the creative team idea is approved, we will submit a full script, but we have to expect that the first version of the script is often followed by numerous revised versions. So, after you finish your storyboard, you have to present it to the client for review, and you have to expect that not the first version won't be accepted. You will be asked to do some modifications. Maybe you have to change the whole idea, but throughout the writing process, you have to know that a number of script conferences will take place, and we have to consider alternative ideas, because sometimes maybe the client will reject the whole idea and ask you for a new idea. Thank you very much for listening. In the coming lectures, we will talk about the rest of the steps of television commercial production, like the pre-production, the production, and the post-production. Thank you.